Representative Gunther, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Sarah.
Can you begin by telling us a little bit about your background and how long you've been in the legislature?
I was elected in 1995, which I believe is 21 years now. And I ran a grocery store before I got here, so I know the difference between gross profit and net profit, which a lot of legislatures have no clue about. I am the second most senior Republican House member, Greg Davids being the most senior. And I have one daughter. She works for Star Key Hearing Aid Company and lives in Portland, Oregon. Actually, she lives in Washington and works in Portland. And I have no grandchildren. That's a bummer for me. I think I'd like to teach some little kid how to fish. But I live in Fairmont, Minnesota. I was a grocer since 1967. I ran 4 grocery stores when I retired. My brothers took them over. And I did something I didn't think I ever wanted to do. In fact, I knew I didn't want to do or ever did as I became a legislator. And it's a job that grows on you. I take a lot of pride in helping people from my district and getting them through the maze of state government. You've got to be a navigator for them. And it's a fun job. I have a great staff. They're in the 6th floor. They're revisers. They're people that know the law, that people can help me answer those technical questions my constituents have. And without them, I'd be lost. And I have a wonderful LA legislative assistant, or commonly in the private sector known as a secretary. And I have a committee administrator that makes sure that the committee runs right. So even I can look good when we have all that staff we have up here. I've always worked on economic development and jobs and creating jobs. It's been a passion of mine even before I got here. My district has lost 17,000 people since 1960. So Greater Minnesota's taken too many hits, and we have to figure out a way that we can create jobs where I live. Now, the biggest single category of employment is long-term care in my district. You have assisted living, at nursing homes, and stuff like that. They have been plagued by a lack of increases until last year for nursing homes. And this year, we hope to get something done, even though it's not a funding session, for independent living and home health care and homes for the handicapped people.
Is there a particular bill that you've worked on in the past that you're proud of and could share with us?
One that we just passed last year, it was brought to us by the Joint Senate Rural Caucus. It took, because we have a lack of career counselors in our school, 1 to 600 is the ratio, and they are no longer career counselors, they're crisis counselors. And they do a good job, they just don't have time to take a young person to say, okay, what do you want to do when you get out of high school? If it's going to college, what do you want to major in? And they ask the good questions to make young people think. But there are a lot of people, 30 to 50% or more, that don't plan on getting any post-secondary education. So what good, if they have no career counseling, what good is high school? It's supposed to prepare you for life after high school to get a job, a career. If they don't have any help getting there, high school is not worth very much. And for those that go on to post-secondary education, 40% of them fail in the first year. And a typical college career today, because of the cost and other things, is not just 4 years anymore. It could be from 5 to 25 because they got to go to work and before they can come back and finish. So we passed a bill that hired a person from outside, trained them, so they go in and counsel sophomores on ability, aptitude, and interest testing. And this gives them a chance to find out what category of jobs they'd be good at, they'd be interested in. And we then can go and take these young people and let them job shadow and look at that category of jobs. And hopefully they'll find one in the community they live in. And it's a positive thing.
What would you say is the most difficult aspect of being a legislator?
I think the most challenging aspect is the political part. If I didn't have to work with politics and be cognizant of everything I say, and I could actually talk to somebody across the aisle and have a nice conversation without having somebody look over our shoulders, I think that would be refreshing. When I first got in legislature, I never thought the Republicans would ever be in the majority. And now I find myself, I've been in the majority more years than I've been in the minority. And I found out that they work pretty hard when they were in the majority. And we have to work hard too. The problem is that there's such a disparity between the metro urban legislators and the rural and the suburban legislators. And that's what kind of makes the two sides. Places like St. Louis Park and stuff like that, the inner ring suburbs, they kind of are toss-up sometimes. But we should start working for what's better for Minnesota instead of what's better for our political parties.
If you had an extra hour in the day, how would you spend it?
Study more.
What would you study?
The legislation I have and the legislation other people have, so I can make theirs and mine better.
Representative Gunther, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.